Christianity is in the news.
The Archbishop of York
has stepped into the row over whether a British Airways worker can openly wear a Christian cross at work.
Suddenly, more and more believers are ending up in court.
A devout Christian couple have been cleared of insulting a Muslim guest.
There are concerns that Christianity is being marginalised.
Would they do the same with the Quran or the Hindu scriptures or any holy book for that matter?
And that individual Christians are being victimised, persecuted even.
I think if you lose your job because you've offered to pray with a patient, you would call it persecution.
It's the kind of story you would think only happened in places like Pakistan, India or Iraq.
How can this happen in this nation?
5 Live Breakfast, it's exactly 9:30. In my job, I'm no stranger to debate about religious affairs.
It's the Old Testament, the New Testament, no. This is key.
You have shaved your beard, trousers.
But even I have been struck by the sheer number of stories about Christians and Christianity.
So what is going on? Are Christians being discriminated against? Are they being singled out? And if so, how serious is it?
How can 21st century Britain have come to a place like this?
If I was a Christian, I'd be very upset.
And we pray for Ben and Shiv.
It's persecution.
Cast your mind back a few months to December, and the most popular festival of the Christian year.
Christmas. It is a great British tradition, part of the fabric of our society, a chance for us all to get together as a nation, celebrate and let our hair down. And it's been like that for hundreds of years. In the 17th century, when they tried to ban it, there was a huge public outcry. But if you believe the papers, there's a far more contemporary threat to Christmas.
In the run-up to Christmas 2009, Dundee Council found itself cast as the villain. Instead of a modest switch-on of the Christmas lights, the city chambers had planned an ambitious evening of entertainment right across the city. The title for such an event needed to be suitably enticing, and so Dundee's Winter Light Night was born. But it wasn't long before some local church leaders protested that the name made no mention of Christmas. Dundee's leader of the administration is Ken Guild.
You are somehow saying that because we're calling it a winter light night rather than a Christmas light night, that we've taken Christianity out of it, which is ardent nonsense. The idea is to get as many people as possible involved, and through that you're exposing them to the Christmas message and to Christmas celebration.
Out on the street, opinions varied on the fuss over what the evening should or shouldn't have been called.
It's not about lights, it's not about Santa Claus, it's about Jesus Christ.
At this time of year, if they're having switching on the lights for Christmas, they should mention Christmas in the title.
I understand why they object to it. I think they've got no business at all objecting to it whatsoever. It's a great night, call it whatever you want.
In the end, the council convinced church leaders that they had not meant to sideline Christmas. But according to Ken Guild, Dundee is not alone.
Calling it a winter event is quite common. If you look at our next city up in the northeast, they are calling it the Winter Festival. If you go 20 miles along the road to Perth, the nearest large town, they are calling it Welcome to Winter.
Newspaper headlines from other parts of the country point up the many ways in which the Christian festival of Christmas is being undermined. They suggest that something more might be going on.
I think that what the press have identified is just one of the flashpoints that many Christians see as an attempt to marginalise their faith. But I believe it's part of a bigger picture. It's a story of our times. It's about profound changes we're only dimly aware of, but they are transforming the place and purpose of religion in modern life.
Hey, young people! The J-Rock's back in the house. And so's the G to the...
Today, Christians and Christianity are often seen as fair game.
We're not high on E, we're high on G. O-D. But you can't OD on G-O-D. Because you can never have enough of God's love.
Joking aside, there is evidence that Christianity is being shunned. Even, it seems, in Britain's schools.
A recent report looked into the teaching of RE in schools. It found that most Christian student teachers thought that sharing their beliefs with the classroom could be unprofessional. But it was a different story for agnostics and atheists. They believed that sharing their lack of beliefs or questions with the classroom could be a positive contribution.
I decided to see for myself if this is in fact the case.
Relate to all of us.
What do student teachers at Canterbury Christchurch University think?
What must all teaching be in the classroom in relation to the entire curriculum of religion?
Those who were atheist or agnostic felt more able to discuss their beliefs in the classroom.
I have told a couple of my students, but I haven't told any of my students as a class.
I find it's a nice, easy way to answer the questions, why do we have to learn RE when we're not religious? It's, well, I'm choosing to teach it and I don't believe in any of it, so...
I know that a lot of students don't even know what agnosticism is, so it's quite nice for me to have that opportunity to explain it to them as well.
By contrast, many Christian teachers were reluctant to discuss their beliefs in class.
I'd never share my viewpoint because that is a view that the whole of society would not accept as a view. Being quite conservative in my beliefs, like, I guess, maybe certain issues with kind of sex and homosexuality and things like that. I'm worried that if I ever did announce that, I'd get in so much trouble.
When I've had children ask me before, I thought, obviously everyone who believes in this is stupid. So, well, actually, a lot of Christians would disagree with you, rather than saying, my personal belief as a Christian is this. So you word your answers differently.
All these examples add up to what many Christians say is a new threat. After centuries in the mainstream, there are Christians, bishops as well as laity, who feel they are being treated unequally, sidelined, even discriminated against.
Roll on the day when nobody goes to church and we pull the damn things down and make something useful.
Of course, on one level, it is true that the secularization of Western Europe has been pushing Christianity away from the public arena. But that's been a long-term trend. The current disquiet, especially felt by devout Christians, has very different roots. One factor is the sudden and significant changes to the makeup of British society. Immigration. It has brought about a multicultural, multi-faith Britain. Take a town like Rochdale. Most people expected last year's Christmas lights to be the usual display of Santas, snowmen, and a Merry Christmas sign.
10, 9, 8.
But with the countdown to the big switch on, came a twist on the traditional theme.
3, 2, 1.
In 2009, the Muslim festival of Eid was celebrated at the end of November. So the council decided its Christmas lights should reflect this, and the Hindu festival of Diwali, and the Jewish Star of David for Hanukkah, and a pagan Wicca symbol for the winter solstice, and of course, a Merry Christmas sign. This was a multi-faith Christmas, and the Mayor, Councillor Keith Swift, explained why.
That won't let you down.
Council does have to take into account the fact that we're now a multicultural nation, and we've welcomed people from all over the Commonwealth, all over the world, to come and live and work here and be part of our community, and we can't therefore ignore their views, and we have to respect their views.
And it's not only Rochdale that is keen to keep all sectors of the community happy. In Tyneside, a mum was told to take down her Christmas lights because they might be offensive to her non-Christian neighbours. In Yorkshire, a college was reported to have replaced Christmas and Easter with end-of-term breaks to be more inclusive. And in Bolton, a survey of employers found 70% planned to ban Christmas decorations at work because they were worried about offending other faiths.
All these examples may strike you as what some term in that hackneyed phrase, political correctness gone mad. Or to put it another way, evidence of zealous councils unquestioningly carrying out multicultural diktats from above.
We decided to ask members of Britain's ethnic communities themselves what they think about Christmas.
Oh, it's okay for me. I like to join in, I don't mind.
I don't really know anybody that complains about the actual Christmas itself or the occasion or the fact that it's a religious thing. I don't really hear anybody complaining about the religious side of things.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they look at other culture festivals as well and pay attention to it, yeah.
I know this is not an Islamic country, so they couldn't be offended in that way, do you know what I mean? I like the fact that Christians celebrate Christmas like that, yes.
One person who sums up the view of many British Muslims is Monawar Hussain. Monawar is the founder of a forum set up to encourage understanding between faiths. He has no qualms about joining his Christian neighbours to celebrate the switching on of their house lights. And he thinks many in Britain's ethnic communities are fed up with being blamed for the renaming of Christian celebrations.
As someone of faith, I want to see my Christian friends be able to share their festivities with us and kind of express that culturally. So in the public space, their faith is also projected. And I have absolutely no problem with that.
Bob, thank you. Welcome. Pleasure.
And often I think it's local authorities who are ill-advised or sometimes maybe disconnected from local faiths and local culture, or do not know enough about local communities, that they make decisions that are really not in the benefit of local communities.
If councils perhaps did more to find out what minority faiths actually thought about Christian festivals, it would reduce much of the resentment some Christians feel. There are Christians who wonder what the fuss is all about. They welcome what multiculturalism has brought in its wake. But there is another issue stirring up resentment in some Christian quarters. They fear their right to express their faith in public, as they've done for centuries, is being undermined too.
What, for example, if a Christian's personal convictions are not deemed PC enough at work? That's when some fear political correctness tips over into victimisation. And for some at the receiving end, that can very much feel like persecution.
We have 5,000 people signed this petition in a short time.
One such Christian is the reason for this vigil outside Wandsworth Town Hall in London. Up until January 2008, Duke Amakri worked here as a homelessness prevention officer. But he got into a conversation with a client about her health and asked if she had thought about putting her faith in God. 2 days later, he was suspended from work and later dismissed.
I'm very, very grateful that you all have come out to stand with me to see that justice is done.
On the night of the appeal against Duke's dismissal, many supporters turned out, and feelings were running high.
We are somehow sidestepping Christians because we're not violent, because we don't shout from the rooftop necessarily. We're being sidestepped, and that I think I want you to come out and support